Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Free, and today's video is just going to be over what you should do if you are interested in teaching English in China. So keep in mind that these are the exact same steps that I took when I was going through the entire process and preparing to come over to China. So I hope that you guys will find this video very helpful. So the first thing that you want to start by doing is researching as much as possible. And when I say research, you need to research like what are the requirements. Do you need to be a licensed teacher? What type of certification do you need to have? You also want to search like what city do I want to live in within China? Do I want to live somewhere where it's more rural? Do I want to live somewhere where it's more of a city life? Do I want to live in an area where there are a lot of expats? Do you want to live in an area where there are a lot of things to do so that you won't get bored? Do you want to live in like a tier 1, a tier 2, or a tier 3 city within China? Because there are like different levels, and tier 1 is pretty much like your big cities like Shanghai, your Beijing's. Your tier 2 city would be a city like Nanjing, and I do believe Suzhou is still considered a tier 2 city as well. Or do you want to live in a tier 3 city, something smaller like Wuxi? I do believe Wuxi is still considered a tier 3 city as well. So, you know, just search those things. And then you also want to search like the average price of living in that particular city, the average cost of an apartment, especially if your job is not providing you with any type of housing stipend. You want to become familiar with the different laws in China as well. And you might want to research like what goes on like socially in your area. Are there any social events that happen, or will I have to like travel to Shanghai or Beijing to have fun and do social things with other expats as well? You might even want to search like what type of stores are going to be around you. So is there going to be a Walmart? Is there going to be IKEA? Is there going to be Carrefour? And then last but not least, I think the most important thing for me was you want to research other people's experiences and get advice. And for me, that was YouTube. When I tell you guys that YouTube was my best friend, I lived, I ate, I slept, I breathed YouTube. Like every extra minute that I had throughout the day and on the weekend, I was on YouTube, like searching like teaching English in China and just watching videos and videos and videos, like literally binge watching, because I wanted to make sure this was something that I wanted to do. And I also wanted to get other people's like experiences and advice, and just like, I don't know, try to figure out as much as I could, because it's a big step going from the United States and moving to a foreign country where you don't have any family, any friends, you don't speak the language, you can't read anything. So it's a big deal, guys. So I would definitely say use YouTube as your main like resource when it comes to like different experiences and what to do and what not to do. Okay, so number 2, I would definitely say make sure that you meet all of the requirements, because it would suck to get really excited about coming over to teach in China and then you realize that, dang, I don't even meet the requirements. So make sure that you meet the requirements first. So the first requirement is to have a degree. You can have a degree in anything. It does not matter what your degree is in. You just need a degree. So make sure you have your degree. And then number 2, for me, because I'm not a licensed teacher, I had to get a certification. So the certification that I got is the TEFL, but there are other certifications that you can get as well that will allow you to teach English in China. So there is a CELTA and a DELTA as well, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just gonna refer to the certification that you need as the TEFL, okay? And for the TEFL, you need the 120-hour TEFL at minimum. And the next thing that you're going to need is your passport, of course. So make sure you have a valid passport. And even when it comes to passports, you do have to be from a particular country to come over to teach English in China, okay? So again, that's going to go in with the research part as well. And then you will need a clean background check as well. If you have something minor like a traffic offense or anything like that, that's okay, because I have a I have a traffic offense on my record. It wasn't like anything like violent, it was just for like a traffic violation that wasn't like taken care of, guys. So yeah, last thing that you are required to have. When I initially came over in 2018, I didn't need to have this, but now they've kind of like, China itself has kind of cracked down on people teaching English in China. So now something else that you're going to need is going to be a sorry guys, you're gonna need your TEFL transcript. So your TEFL transcript is just like your college transcript. It tells you like what classes you've taken and if you've passed them or not. So you're gonna need that as well. And okay, so the next thing is going to be apply. Start applying. So go ahead and spruce up your resume. You want to go ahead and make sure you add any experience that you have working with children or any relevant info when it comes to teaching, just in general. So for me, this time around, I posted my resume on Dave's ESL Cafe, Teachaway, and jobs.echina cities. So that will probably be like the most easiest thing to do. Go ahead and just post your resume, and I guarantee you by the next day you will have so many recruiters reaching out to you and telling you, okay, we have this job, and this job, are you interested? So that's what I did. Again, Dave's ESL Cafe, Teachaway, and jobs.echina cities. Okay, so you can just Google those and they'll pop up for you. And then once you have applied, you can go ahead and start interviewing. And I would definitely say that you need to be prepared. Some of the main questions that I got asked on pretty much every interview was, number one, what do you know about China? So make sure you have a few like facts about China, maybe 2 or 3, just to show that you know something about China. And then I also got asked a lot, what do you know about this particular city? So when I initially came over to China, it was Nanjing. So they asked me, what do you know about Nanjing? So make sure you know just a few facts about whatever city it is that you're applying for, or that you're applying to be in or work in. And then of course they're going to ask you, why do you want to teach in China? So tell them why you want to teach in China. Of course you don't want to say because I want to travel. So again, 2 or 3, you know, facts. Keep it nice and sweet of why you want to teach in China. And then of course they're going to ask like, why do you want to teach at this particular school? So be prepared for that as well. And then they also ask, what do you know about this school? So Google the school. Again, that goes back to the research portion as well. Like once you figure out like what schools or what cities or whatever, go ahead and research the schools, go ahead and research the city, and then just give maybe 2, 3, 4 little fun facts about the school, just to let them know that you've been researching and that you actually are interested. And then some other things they asked were, you know, tell me one negative thing about yourself. They asked like teaching based, like situational questions. For example, one question that they asked me was, how would you refocus a group of 4-year-olds? Like, how would you get their attention if you notice that they're not paying attention to you? You're trying to teach, but they're playing and talking with their friends. Like, what would you do in this situation to refocus them? So think about that as well. And there are like plenty of things that you can do. Number one, you can use like the light method. You can walk over to the lights and you can flip them off and then flip the lights back on. More than likely, once you flip the lights off, your kids are going to be like, what's going on? They'll get quiet. That's the way to refocus them. For my kindergartners, I do a thing where I go 1, 2, 3, and they go hands on knees, and they know to like refocus, put their hands on their knees and be quiet and listen to the teacher. But there are plenty of things that you can use in that situation, but that's just one type of question that they asked me. They also asked like, how would you handle like misbehavior as well? So whatever you would do in that situation, again, keep it nice and sweet, and remember that you are applying to work with kids. And you also want to be prepared and have your own questions to ask as well, because they want to know that you are interested in the school and that you are actually interested in the job. So have some questions to ask as well, guys. And then the next thing that you're going to do after you have interviewed and you found a position that you think is suitable for you, you want to go ahead and accept the position and start the paperwork process. So the paperwork process is going to be like the longest and most confusing process that you actually have to go through, because you have to get things notarized and authenticated. So for me, I used a visa agency in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm from Augusta, Georgia, but the agency that I used was in Atlanta, and they are called China Atlanta. They're just a China, sorry guys, I'm trying to get it to focus. They are a China visa office in Atlanta. Don't worry, I'll post it on the side. But they pretty much did everything for me. I didn't have to do anything on my own. So I would definitely advise that you guys use a visa company to process everything for you. Just let them do everything. Pay them to do it. So the things that you're going to need to get notarized / authenticated are your TOEFL, your degree, your background check, your TOEFL transcript. So for me, initially I only had to get my TOEFL degree and background check notarized / authenticated. And then this year, the TOEFL transcript is something new that they added on, so you're gonna need to have that as well. Again, I used the China visa office called China Atlanta. They processed everything for me. So again, like I said, this process is going to be a little confusing, because initially I was told that I needed to get everything notarized and then authenticated. You only need to get your papers notarized if you are not using your original documents. And even this was kind of confusing for me, because when I ended up going to the visa office, all they did was take my original documents and scan those documents. So they didn't even use my original documents. They just ended up scanning my original documents, and the scanned copies are what they actually use to send over to China to get authenticated. So I'm a little confused on that part myself, because they didn't use any of my original documents. But anywho, what they did was they made a copy of my TOEFL, my degree, and my background check. And what they did was they took those and they put them on these blue papers. I actually saw them kind of like staple them to these blue papers. And then what they did was they sent them over to a place in Atlanta, and they got these little like stamps put on them. This is pretty much saying that these are the original papers, blah blah blah, they are legit. So they did that for like each one. So for my degree, they did it. My TOEFL, they did it. And then my background check, they did the same thing. They just took copies of it, and then they sent these over to China. And then once they came back from China, there was a little, and then once they come back from China, they'll have this little seal on them saying that, okay, they've come over to China, and we can, I guess, vouch that these are the actual like items that you need. So how it kind of went was, before I even went to the visa company so that they could start the like authentication process, what I did was I scanned my TOEFL degree and background check, and I emailed them over to the school's HR. From there, they said, okay, go ahead and start like the authentication process. And that's where the visa office came into play. I just took the original documents. I took my original documents, so my TOEFL, my degree, and my background check. I took them up to the China visa place. They made copies of them, and then they put them on the blue papers. Once they put them on the blue papers, they did what they needed to do in Georgia, got them sealed, sent them over to China. So that process took about, I want to say, 2 weeks. So once these papers came back from China with the seal on them, they said, hey, Free, we have your paperwork, you can come pick them up. So I just had them mailed to me in an envelope, and I got them like the next day. So from there, what I did was I went back to the little FedEx place, and I scanned like each page. So I scanned this page, I scanned this page, I scanned and I scanned the seal to show my school's HR that they had gone through the authentication process, and then I emailed that back to my school as well. And then from there, once the school actually sees that everything has been authenticated and everything is legit, they will send you an invitation letter. So the invitation letter is pretty much an invite over to China saying that you'll be coming over to teach. So once you have that invitation letter, you have to go back to your visa office with that invitation letter, just the invitation letter and your passport, and then you say, hey, I'm here to apply for my visa now because I have my actual invitation letter from my school's HR saying that I'm coming over to work. I believe that invitation letter lets the visa company know what type of visa that you need to be on to get over to China. So you'll give them the visa letter and you give them your passport, and you have to give them your passport so that they can get the correct visa put into your passport so that you can go over to China. So that's why you're going to give them your passport. You'll also have to like give them some information to enter in on a computer, but it's just simple stuff such as like your name, your address back in the States, like emergency contact, just like little things like that. But they'll, at this visa office, they just entered in everything for me. So it's going to be about a 2-week process for them to actually get your visa put inside of your passport and then sent back to the visa office. And then again, the visa office will call you and say, hey, Free, we have your passport ready. So you have the option of either driving back to the visa office to pick up your passport, or you can have them send it in the mail. I just had them send mine in the mail, and again, I got it like the next day because it's just from Atlanta to Augusta. And then you will have your actual like visa. It won't be like your legit visa, but you'll have your visa that allows you to come over to China. And then once you get to China, you'll have to like apply for your like residence permit, and then you'll get like another an entirely new like an entirely new visa inside of your passport. I scanned my passport page that showed the visa inside of it, and then emailed it back over to my HR, and then they were like, okay, cool, the entire process is over. This is the day that you need to like come over to China. And keep in mind that the visa that they initially put inside of your passport is only valid for about like 90 days, 60 days or 90 days. So you have to enter the country within a certain amount of time, or that visa that they give you is null and void. But yeah, as I stated, after that, your HR from your school will let you know exactly what dates you need to arrive in China to start working. So I hope you guys found this video to be helpful and informative for you. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section, and I'll answer them as soon as possible. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel as well.